and my name is Livia, and I'm a second-year PhD student in modern languages. My PhD research focuses on the role of pronunciation and intonation in teaching Italian as a foreign language. And in particular, I'm focusing on the core sound of Italian that foreign learners need to master in order to achieve intelligibility, which is the ability to comprehend and to be understood by interlocutors during a communicative exchange. Today, I'm going to present to you the recent results of my research, which concerns a sort of analysis that I carried out on the pronunciation and intonation sections that are present in 14 Italian textbooks widely used in the last 15 years, so from 2005 to 2020, to teach Italian to university students and to adult learners in general. So my research focuses on 4 main issues. The first one is to define the general location of pronunciation and intonation sections within the primers analyzed. This is rather important because the location of these sections give us already the sort of importance that is given to pronunciation and intonation from editors, publishers, content creators, and also tutors and teachers as well, as they decide which textbooks they want to use for their language courses. And the second issue regards the focus of the primers on segmentals, which are generally just the sounds of a language, and on suprasegmentals, which are all the other verbal elements, features that characterizes speech, and for example, intonation, pitch, pauses, tone, and which are very relevant, especially when a specific communicative context does not allow us to explicitly express what we want to say for many different reasons. And the third issue regards the presence of explanations, so whether the exercises and activities are introduced by explanations, which can guide the students through autonomous learning, and also the theoretical approaches used for the elaboration of pronunciation and intonation activities. And in particular, I try to focus on 3 main theoretical approaches, which are the articulatory approach, which basically asks the students to perform a specific sound, the contrastive approach, which mainly deals with comparison between the sounds of one language and the ones of another language. In my case, of course, the sounds of Italian compared to the sounds of English. And the perceptive approach, which is just the opposite of the articulatory approach, and which asks the students to listen and to recognize different sounds, but not to perform them. And finally, the last issue is the types of exercises and activities generally offered by primers. So this research has 2 main aims. The first one is to define the actual status of pronunciation and intonation training in textbooks. So whether these skills are present or not in primers, and the importance that is given to these skills compared to other linguistic skills, such as grammar, vocabulary, listening, or speaking skills. The other aim is to identify future directions, future works that need to be done in order to include in a more systematic, inclusive, and appropriate way pronunciation and intonation in academic curriculum. The objectives of my research are then the identification of the theoretical approaches among the ones that I've already explained that are commonly used for the elaboration of pronunciation and intonation activities, the naming of the types of exercises generally included, and also if there is a difference between the activities offered for example, beginners and the ones offered, for example, higher level of language proficiency. And the last objective is the evaluation of the textbook's explanations and exercises, and to see whether this explanation make autonomous learning possible or not. And the methodology used was a mixture of qualitative and quantitative analysis of the pronunciation and intonation sections among the primers analyzed. So the explanations, the exercises, the activities, and also a contrastive analysis. So I tried to compare the activities, exercises among the primers analyzed to see if there were some differences. The main results were, first of all, that out of the 14 textbooks analyzed, 10 primers do have sections related to pronunciation and intonation, and this data is rather important as it highlights the importance that is given to pronunciation and intonation nowadays, while in the past, especially for Italian, pronunciation and intonation were not considered very relevant skills, as Italian is quite easy, it's considered to be quite easy to pronounce, as the words are written in the same way they are pronounced. So a specific training on pronunciation and intonation for learners of Italian was not considered as fundamental. And also the fact that pronunciation and intonation sections are present through the text analyzed reveals a sort of equality between all the linguistic skills that are generally trained through textbooks. The second results regarded the elements, the features, which are generally trained by textbooks. And 9 primers out of the 14 analyzed offer exercises and activities for the training of both pronunciation and intonation features. And this result is quite relevant as it points out the fact that we cannot split these two skills. So necessarily we need to train pronunciation and intonation, such as segmentals and suprasegmentals all together, as their training deeply influence also the acquisition of the other skills. And the third point regards the types of exercises offered, and in particular the exercises offered in the textbooks analyzed ask the student to listen to a recording and then to do something. First of all, the students are required to repeat the sounds or phrases that they have listened in the recording, and this is obviously related based on the articulatory approach. So the students are required to perform specific sounds or phrases, and this is generally known as drilling, which is one of the main exercises used for pronunciation and intonation training also in the past. And the second type of exercise regards some lists of words that the student need to fill in to complete with the phonemes, with the sounds that they listen in an audio files, in a recording. And this is obviously based on the perceptive approach. So also in this case is quite clear that both the articulatory and the perceptive approaches are used for the elaboration of activities and exercises. And then the third type of exercise regards the distinction between sounds or group of sounds, which can be easily mixed up, especially in Italian. There are some sounds that are quite similar and that are not present in English. And so for not very trained ears, they are particularly difficult to be distinguished. And not being able to distinguish these sounds may also cause problem in understanding and also in the actual performance of the speakers. And then sometimes the students are also asked to complete some phonological rules that refer to some specific sounds or other suprasegmental features. And this is also relevant as I will tell you later. I found out that many times explanations are not present. And so the fact that textbooks ask the students to complete some phonological rules in a way, substitute the fact that explanations are missing. So the students are able then to revise and revise again the phonological rules to get when they need to use a particular sound and when they're not required to use it. And then to recognize different phrases according to the different intonations. So also in this case, it's rather important as we may use intonation and other suprasegmental features in different ways according to the language that we are speaking in a particular moment. And intonation also greatly affects the meaning that we want to express while we communicate to others. And they're also required to write down the intonation marks or punctuation. And this is also important also for the development of other skills, for example, writing skills. So when the students are required to write, for example, a text in Italian, they need to know which are the main punctuation marks that are used in Italian and which may be different from the ones that they are used to, that they use in English. And finally, they're also asked to perform in a way through role plays. And this last exercise is rather important, especially because my research is currently focusing on role plays and other drama techniques that can be used to improve pronunciation and intonation. And as of course, the way we express different emotional stages change a lot from culture to culture and of course from language to language. So in particular now I'm focusing on the use of loops, which are very brief dialogues that tutors can invent, and they have not a particular communicative context, as the students need to be as free as possible in the contextualization of these dialogues. And this allows them to change also the pronunciation and intonation from time to time. And the last result of my research regards explanations, which, as I've already told you, are missing in a lot of primers. So only 3 primers offer explicit explanations or units which give some sort of explanation regarding some specific segmental and suprasegmental features. And also concerning the theoretical approaches used, it's also from the explanation of the exercises, it's clear that the perceptive and the articulatory approaches are the most used approach for the elaboration of exercises and activities, which in a way, it would be necessary also to introduce some sort of exercise based on the contrastive approach, as it allows the student to precisely focus only on those sounds and which are not present in their native language, so that they can use the time they have, and both through tutor mediated learning and autonomous learning to achieve good results in the sounds that are not present in their native language and that they may find particularly difficult to master. And I've also included 3 questions that could be answered in the future. And the first one is how to include in a more appropriate way pronunciation intonation training in the academic curriculum. So apart from the use of textbooks, which are the other techniques that can be used in order to improve pronunciation and intonation training. And as I said before, drama techniques and such as role plays or loops can be very useful for the training of pronunciation and intonation. And then how can technology positively influence the teaching of Italian pronunciation and intonation? So as explanation are greatly missing in textbooks, and this may greatly affect autonomous learning, can technology be used in order to support autonomous learning when pronunciation and intonation need to be trained? And I've recently analyzed a lot of pronunciation and intonation apps that offer many different exercises and which can be a really, really good support for students. And then which digital tools could be included to support autonomous pronunciation and intonation training? So which kind of digital tools, as I said, apps, can be mobile apps, can be very useful tool for students. And yeah, that's it. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Livia, for your very interesting presentation. And as an English learner,
yeah, sorry.
Okay. As an English learner as a second language, it's like I'm really impressed with your presentation, how to explain like the exercise, how to follow how to get used to the pronunciation as well. So I would like to take a question from audience. For there's anyone who would like to ask some question or just to make some comments on her presentation. Okay, so probably they are thinking. So in the meantime, can I ask one question? Probably it's
yes, of course.
It's really primitive one. Well, do you think you mentioned about 7 ways or exercise to learn pronunciations, and then probably the combination is more effective to learn pronunciation, and also probably it depends on the learner's age and probably the differences with the native language and the foreign language as well. But still, is there any particular way that is very effective to learn pronunciation among the three exercises you mentioned?
Well, of course, as you said, a combination of different exercises which train different skills, such as perceptive skills and also articulatory skills, as pronunciation, of course, greatly depends on our ability to listen to the different sounds of the languages, and also to the ability to put the mouth, teeth, tongue in different ways, which may not be natural at first, as you know, and I know, is the best way to improve pronunciation, of course, as many previous research have highlighted how only articulatory exercises or perceptive exercises are not enough to reach a very good level in these skills. And learners, even high proficiency learners, may still have some problems. And I see this every day with my students, especially fourth-year students. They still have some big issues with some specific Italian sounds. And of course, I can understand them because I'm a native speaker, but this makes us very, very important problems when they speak to other non-native speakers in Italian. So, of course, a combination of all these elements is the best way to improve pronunciation.
Thank you very much. Is there any further questions? I think it looks there's no further question. So thank you very much, Livia, for your very interesting presentation.
Thank you for having me.